Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, it's the Yukitsu Times, welcome to my channel, welcome back to Battlefleet Gothic. So we're here to talk a little bit about Chaos, and this is just to help out new players who wanted to play Chaos instead of the Imperial Navy, and they're a very distinct faction. I think a lot of people sort of are playing these guys wrong, because I think people get the impression that Chaos is supposed to be this really tough, bashy fleet that gets right in there, but that's actually not the case. They're a skirmishing faction. We're going to go ahead and start by looking at their cruisers, their light cruisers that you can start off choosing from here. At the start, you can choose between the Hellbringer and the Hellbringer Mark II. As you can see, their statistical profile looks fairly similar to the standard Imperial Navies. The main differences are your frontal armor is only 50 instead of 75, and your speed is 225 instead of 188, which is a big boost in speed. This should tell you right away that this is a sort of move and maneuverability faction, not a get in there and bash faction. Although, maybe you could use the speed to get in there up close and use your guns, but the case happens to be that you use your speed to skirt around your opponent. For your light cruisers, you can start off with 2 ordnance launch bays, and these launch fighters and assault boats and torpedo boats, and or torpedo bombers. And those are an extremely potent tool because they have really, really far range. You can actually hit a ship from a very long distance. The other effect that you've got here is the heavy macro turret. You've got 2 of them. Each of them has 3 shots, and they've got a rate of fire relatively fast, relatively low damage, but they've got 9,000 range. So the fact that you've basically got both of these combined is equivalent approximately to like 1 Imperial battery approximately, with a little bit less damage, about half damage compared to the macro guns on the Imperial ships. The big advantage for these is their range and a slightly higher rate of fire as well. So this is a keep-away ship. Its actual guns are really kind of terrible. You want to mostly be using those ships that you can deploy over and over and over again as best as you can. The other ship that they've got is the Hellbringer Mark II, and this, instead of the carrier bays, has lance batteries, and this gives it a little bit more punch. It has a very, very low damage attack on the side there. When it says a battery, it doesn't actually have only as many attacks as it says it does, so it fires a little bit more often than its numbers would indicate. But it still is not necessarily that many shots, and they're only dealing 4 damage per hit. What's nice about these is that they do ignore armor to a certain extent, and they always hit, so they can work out from those extreme ranges and still deal consistent damage against most opponents. So the Hellbringer is a decent long-range damage dealer, but it doesn't deal huge, fast amounts of damage. But if you are going to get into direct gun-to-gun fights, the lance batteries are better than the carrier ships. The carrier, however, is much more potent, in my opinion, so we're going to pick up 2 of those to start, and 1 of the Hellbringer Mark II. One of the interesting things about Chaos is that they don't start off with any macro battery heavy ships, so they suffer a little bit against Eldar in that respect, but the thing is, carriers are much better at countering Eldar than other ships. Alright, so we're going through these sort of support abilities here. The first thing you have to get in any Chaos fleet, because of their extreme long range, is a recon beacon, and you need this on at least 1 of your ships. The reason that you need this recon beacon is because if we look at our stats here, we've got those ordnance launch bays that have a launch range of like 10,000 or something like that, and you've got, or probably even more than that, you've got the heavy macro turrets with 9,000 range. You've got a detection radius of only 5,000, so you cannot actually see as far as you can fire, and if there are those red blips, you're not allowed to shoot at those, so you need to get some vision on your opponent, and preferably get vision on them from far away. The 2 options for that are the recon beacon or the auger probe. The problem with the auger probe is that if you launch it, the enemy can dodge it, or the enemy could be in a gas cloud, in which case, yeah, it'll detect them as it goes through the gas cloud, but as soon as it passes through the gas cloud, they'll go stealth again, so you don't actually accomplish anything. The recon beacon, on the other hand, can be used in a gas cloud to flush enemies out if they're sort of camping in it, and it can be used to detect enemies early, so it's an extremely powerful ability to have on a Chaos fleet if you plan on keeping your distance and using those sort of long-range attacks. The next thing that we're going to want to take is a dedicated Eldar fighting vehicle, and for that purpose we're going to go ahead and get a taunt vehicle. You don't, strictly speaking, need this to fight Eldar, but it makes it a lot easier. Eldar plays so differently that it's important to actually have that kind of thing from time to time. Our last ship, the Hellbringer Mark II, we're going to give it a stasis bomb, and this just works really well if you're playing this sort of kiting behavior game. If you get into a situation where you are fighting an enemy and you don't want to engage them, you can drop a stasis bomb and try and run away through it. And if the opponent chases you through the stasis bomb, there's a good chance they'll get tangled up in it, giving you lots of time to get away. conjunctions better with the Hellbringer Mark II, in my opinion, because if they get caught in it, you can sort of turn to face them with your broadsides and pound away at them while they're stuck in there, and there's nothing they can do about that. So this is the configuration that I'd recommend for newer players at the start. It's just a very flexible, powerful skirmishing force. It takes advantage of the Chaos advantages and strengths, and it will actually beat the Imperial fleets, whereas if you just take 2 Hellbringer Mark IIs and try and go broadside to broadside against them, you'll lose. Like, if you look at this, it's got these 2 lance batteries. It's ultimately firing 4 shots. It fires, therefore, it's like, what, 16 damage? That's practically nothing. So you definitely need some other benefits to actually take out ships. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Escort ships here. They've got the Iconoclast here. Very, very low hull, very low armor. It's got the 125 armor sort of thing there. And every faction has a couple Escorts that are like this. These things are so fragile that one ship bumping into them will blow them up. So you need to be very, very careful with them, or just not take them. Honestly, I prefer not taking them. This one's only equipped with basically macro batteries. Light missile pod turrets count as macro batteries functionally. They deal okay damage. Their rate of fire is very slow, and you need a lot of these before you can really cause any harm to a bigger ship. The next thing is the Idolator Raider. This one's actually kind of worth taking, just because they've got this light prow lance that actually deals 12 damage per shot. Its rate of fire is horrendously slow, however, so you need to line up a shot once their armor is exposed. You don't want to be shooting at shields with those light prow lances, because it's not going to deal really all that much damage to them. But if you get a good mass of Idolators, it can cause a little bit of hurt. Still, if you've got the option, take a light cruiser instead. Infidel Raider here is their torpedo escort. It's got pretty much as the Iconoclast and turrets there, just 2 less. So it's got twice as much health, it's got more armor. So if you ever actually want something to just throw around shots with these things, I actually prefer the Infidel Raider over the Iconoclast. But the Iconoclast is a lot cheaper, I suppose, if you happen to need it. The ability to fire those torpedoes, though, from time to time, is something that the Chaos fleets are traditionally missing. They don't have a lot of torpedo destroyers or anything like that. So, again, we're going to focus most heavily on the light cruisers here. Especially for newer players, taking escorts is, again, a bad idea because they're just harder to micromanage. They're harder to keep track of when you've got lots and lots of ships on the field. So you want to definitely focus on your big light cruisers there. Your light cruisers are not that big, but, you know, they're the biggest that you start with. We've got a cruiser clash here. Perfect. Against what, though? Against an orc. This is actually an orc player who clearly has a much higher rating than I do. So we're going to go ahead and take our 2 units of Hellbringers, our 2 Hellbringer Mark 1s, and I'm going to actually take an Idolator just because this player is clearly a lot more experienced than this fleet. Doesn't mean I can't beat him. It does mean, though, that the matchmaking is still janky as all get out. When you are given extra points for whatever reason, because this is a 250-point cruiser clash, you're given extra points when your opponent has more abilities and upgrades. So you have to sort of be aware of that fact if you're getting funny point values. It's kind of funny because this came out at exactly 300, but I know that I'm not allowed to get into 300-point games right now, so... Yeah, mismatch warning. Fantastic. Alright, so this isn't the first time I've had a really bad mismatch, though, so it doesn't mean I'm automatically going to lose. Doesn't mean I'm probably going to lose, though. Alright, so the way you play Chaos is really kind of slow, tedious, and annoying, so if you're not into that style of gameplay, don't play as Chaos. You're not going to really have necessarily that much fun in the early game. Of course, if you grind it up, you can... if you're playing as Chaos and you sort of know how to play as them, you can get to the later game where you've got bigger, heavier ships that sort of go against the grain of what they normally are about. You can get favors that make them better at close ranges. So if you can do that, then you know you'll be okay. That's sort of the way it goes. It's a bit strange. One of the things they changed in the patches is that you don't no longer see those little red blips, which is really obnoxious. I think that they definitely need to keep those in for this sort of game, but you know, we'll sort of chug our way forward and see what we can see. But once we sort of see red blips, we'll go ahead and recon beacon those, see what we can get out of it. But getting increased detection range, I think, is a little bit more important than it was before. But even with an extra 2,500, the map is so big and the area that your ships can detect enemy ships in is so small that it's easy to just slip past enemy ships.
We are unstoppable.
I think he might be able to see where mine are, though, because I've got the contrails from my fighter escorts. Oh, there they are.
Tremble.
They're just not showing up on the mini-map for some reason. Interesting. Well, either way, we're going to go ahead and head towards these two cruisers that we've got on the Chaos side here, or the Orcish side here. And he is right, though. There is a match mismatch here, and it's a pretty bad one, because I suspect he's got a fairly high-level account at this point in time. But what you do with Chaos is you switch your guys to use Chaos Assault Boats, primarily, and the Chaos Assault Boat is a great utility vehicle. It basically disables enemy systems. It does boarding actions for free from long distance. And we're going to go ahead and launch this.
Sighted an enemy ship.
And we're going to turn our fleet around right away before we hit this mine as well. We're going to go ahead and target engines,
Ready eternally.
We're going to go ahead and zoom out of here if we can. Oh, I'm getting tractor beamed into a landmine. That was actually pretty good of him. He's really lucky that that landmine was there. Alright, so...
Engines hot. Cruising speed set.
Let's go ahead and rapid reload with this guy.
Setting course.
Yeah, so that was really obnoxious of him. But,
Your orders.
like, if that landmine wasn't there, that would have actually been okay, but...
Ship or else.
Alright, so we got away with these guys, though. Let's go ahead and get back in towards this guy. Just a bit. Ooh, he got a hit there. That gun he's using is extremely inaccurate, so it's not actually a guarantee that he's going to cause damage with something like that. We lost our deck, but that's not the worst thing in the world. What? How did he do that one already? He must have rapid reload.
Forward to the slaughter.
Alright, let's get out of there as best as we can.
For now.
Yeah, we're gonna actually just let him run. Might not get out of there. Wait, this is a cruiser. That's a Terror class. Huh. Wow, this is a really bad mismatch in terms of the matchmaking.
Your orders.
Alright, have we disabled any systems here? I don't think we have. Righto. Alright, so this guy's gonna run away. And this happens in this game. Just don't worry about it too much. But yeah, this is sort of how you play these guys. If you're not getting chain pulled in by things into landmines, then, you know.
To the wall.
It is weird that he was able to afford two of the, like the Terror Cruiser as well as a Basha. Usually you don't see that. Alright, we're going to actually show you another one because this was so mismatched that it just was not very representative or, you know, helpful. Where's my little ship here? Yeah, let's just run it into the enemy ships here. What I probably should have done was just run out my small ship and just had it explode. But it would have given me detection and he would have wasted his all-ahead full. But, you know.
Ready eternally.
Let's go ahead and just boost this guy forward here. Yeah, the game doesn't end until I've actually lost this little guy, so... let's go ahead and turn lock on.
Slaughter them!
And this is just basically the polite way of doing it. You don't want to actually concede because you actually get renown for losing, so you might as well. He's boosting... I love how he's boosting through that... There we go.
For the dark gods.
See if I can get hit by the other one. Well, probably not. I'll probably get destroyed before I can get there. Alright. Yeah, so double tractor cannons on
We've lost an escort ship.
On this sort of ship at this point in time is just a little bit too much to deal with. If he hadn't had that landmine there, I probably would have gotten away a little bit better. Because the landmine does like 300 damage, but you know, things like that happen sometimes. Just don't worry about it. Don't let it get you down too much. And, you know, I've done far worse to newer players too, so I can't actually be that angry about this. I can say that they do need to fix their matchmaking system, though, because it is brutally bad. Alright, so this is going to be a little while. So this will also give me a chance, though, to show you a little bit about what happens when you are defeated. So we have this Hellbringer here, and you can see that it's been destroyed. So, you know, that's just the way it is. That's fine. The other one leveled up, which is, you know, good. It's very important to get level ups on this type of ship. So if we go into our hangar here, we're going to see that we have got this ship here. It doesn't cost very much to repair a light cruiser though, so we can get this repaired up pretty much for free. That's barely going to cost us anything. We can get the crew upgraded in this thing as well. You want to upgrade squadron sergeants in dedicated carriers pretty much every time. We can't afford our upgrade now because we did that. It costs 50 for one of these, but it's a little bit more important for me to have access to my recon beacon, so we're going to go ahead and just get into another one. Hopefully this will be a little bit more evenly balanced. Like light ships just cannot afford to get double tractor beam taunted into that sort of stuff. I think he had it on autocast though because of the speed at which he cast it, so maybe if I had, I should have put my escort up first, and that was my fault for not doing that. Alright, so it's another orc and it's another high level account, but that's fine. We've got our 2 Hellbringers this time, and it'll be a little bit better since there's no way that he can afford that many favors, which is the real thing that you can tell that you're outclassed if your opponent has a bunch of favors. The reason is that it costs 200 renown to use a favor. So what you want to do with Chaos Fleets, though, is just not get anywhere near the enemy ships. Of course, he's going to try and force me to be close to him, using things like tractor beams, using things like taunt. That is how orcs win. But, he can only do it so often, and when he's got that on cooldown or whatever, it gives me an opportunity to slip away, and once he's in my line of sight, I can be very, very far away from him. I'm kind of wondering, like, if this is a bug where you can't see the blips anymore, because it used to have blips.
Command me!
Alright, so he's launching torpedoes. That's not going to bother me at all. With this, with
Command
the
me!
fighter screen, you don't have to worry as much about torpedoes, because you'll probably shoot them all down. Now then, let's just get... let's get away from them as much as possible, because I don't want to be near them for, any particular reason. But we'll try and head towards the enemy orc fleet, and we'll try and figure out what's going on. He doesn't have the mega cannons at the front, which is a weapon that I always find really intimidating, but he probably has lots of heavy guns on the sides, is my guess. Or he could be an ordnance-carrying orc, that's possible. Alright, so we're out of one spread of torpedoes. I think we're just about out of the second one. Oh, and there's more mines. One of the things is I never see my opponents have to worry about landmines, or the space mines, I guess. Here he is firing more of those torpedoes. Torpedoes from this distance never hit anything, so it's kind of a useless gesture in a certain way, but at the same time they force me to move around, so it makes it take longer before we actually engage our ships together. So it's kind of... I don't really like the fact that they've got these long-range torpedoes that I have to move around. I kind of wish that they didn't include that, just so that the game started happening a bit faster, but at the same time I can sort of see the reason that you might have them is because, maybe you can flush someone out of one of these gas clouds really, really early. And here's where it's nice to be able to have the recon beacon instead of the auger probe, although it's right there.
We have sighted an enemy ship!
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and, again, this is...
Just show us something to kill!
Alright, so we lost a weapon. Hopefully it wasn't our launch bay. It was our launch bay.
Ready,
Of course it was. Assault boat success there.
Command me!
Alright, so we're just going to play keep away here. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit rapid reload with these guys. And that'll let us do more retro burns, and also let us do more of our attacks with our long-range fighters here. It's got a heavy zap cannon there, it looks like.
Just show us something to kill!
Alright.
Your orders!
Where's their heavier one there? There's where it is. Okay, we're disabling the shields on these guys, as well as hopefully other systems, but primarily shields. If we can get those down, and keep them down, then he becomes incapable of really retaliating against us. Destroyed a weapon. It's not what I really want to hit there. Each assault boat wave has multiple assault actions, so it's got a chance to disable multiple systems. And the reason that we want to disable those shields is because if we get those down, we can actually pick away at him pretty effectively using our macro batteries from long distance. So he just wasted his torpedoes there on something that was never going to hit. But this one is
show us something to kill.
off in the opposite direction, opposite wrong direction. Alright, so let's get out of here. managed to get a boarding party. That's really bad. Boarding failure, but he's got like 2 more. Boarding failure. Boarding failure. Oh, that was lucky of me. Okay. So have we launched our ships against him now?
Ready eternally.
I'm not even sure I'm launching them at the right ship here. I'm going to turn them off auto here.
Your
Second.
orders.
So we want to just keep away from his ships as much as possible.
Ready
Looks like we're
eternally.
out of fighters. We might want to launch another fighter screen, but honestly it's not that big a deal. We're slowly
For the
picking away at him, but you can
gods.
see the ineffectualness of these macro batteries that I've got, especially against something like a cruiser here, the
Come
bigger,
on,
heavier orc ships. Alright,
For
let's
the
go ahead
dark
and
gods.
maybe boost here. Get away from those torpedoes a
For
little
the
bit.
dark gods.
Looks like I didn't have to worry about them at all, though. Alright, so let's try and get rid of those damn shields. The
Your
fact that we
orders.
lost one of our launch bases is really painful. You got really lucky on that, because it basically halves one of my ship's effectiveness. Oops. Let's,
Command me.
Alright, blow up something. Alright, what do we blow up there? Looks like another weapon.
Ready
Another
eternally.
broadside weapon, it looks like. Okay, well, you just want to play, keep away, continue on with that.
Just show us
Let's
something
go ahead and
to
hit
kill.
reload ordnance on all these guys. Just gonna keep up this zigzagging pattern too.
Just
Oh, we're
show
at
us
the
something
table
to
edge.
kill.
Shit. Alright, so lightning strike failure. Oh, I think that actually hit us. Did avoid damage from it though. Oh crap.
Your orders.
Alright, we're out of thrusters there. Once you've actually dealt enough
Ready
damage to enemy
eternally.
ships, it's a good idea to switch over from the assault boats to actual bombers.
For the dark
We've been low on
gods.
fire, we're going to turn that out. Still haven't disabled his generators, which I'm targeting.
For the dark gods.
In fact, I still haven't disabled anything on this thing. Well, I guess we've disabled weapons as a thing, so... He launched his torpedoes in kind of a funny way there.
Command me.
Alright, let's see if we can get a juke in here.
Just show us something to kill.
Oh, I wasted my ships.
We have sighted an enemy ship.
Oh, crap. It's bad. French torpedo failure.
Your
And a
orders.
success. Okay, what actually got destroyed there? I don't think anything, actually.
Ready eternally.
Alright, our lightning strike succeeded. Oh, we got his generators, finally. Alright, we can slip through here pretty easily. Oh, that does give him that opportunity for boarding actions. Alright, that destroyed our deck. That's not too important, but it is pretty bad. Oh, those are at a good angle for him. Looks like we managed to take them all down with our point defenses, though. So, that's fine.
Ready eternally.
Ugh, crap.
We've sighted an enemy ship. Your
Keep
orders.
losing my fighters because we've got those situations. Let's go ahead and rapidly
Reloading
reload this.
ordnance.
Alright, so we got something there. What do we get? Another weapon.
Command me.
It's not what I want to get. Alright, so let's turn a bit, start using those broadsides there, or rather those turrets.
Command me.
They're front-facing turrets, but they can fire at a sideways angle.
Just show us something to kill.
Alright.
For the dark gods.
And this is why I wouldn't necessarily recommend Chaos, honestly. This is basically how they are best played at early levels. And, like, normally this would be fine because I'd be against two
Just show
Chaos,
us
or
something
two
to
Orcish
kill.
light cruisers, which would be fine for me. It would be just, you know, kind of fair battle in a lot of ways, but this is not what we're
Ready
fighting up
eternally.
against. we're up against a player who has much more durable ships, so I can't actually dent this guy. Alright, let's get shuffling over here.
Ready eternally.
Let's get around this asteroid field, I think. I'm trying to fire like my guns at this guy, but he keeps firing these torpedoes, which make it so I can't fire my guns at him. Alright, so you can see that this guy, though, is at half health, basically. Oh, something's going on there.
Your orders.
Let's go ahead and drop another one of these.
Command me.
Now, the big red button actually does give you more thrust than the speed boost that I'm getting from my all-ahead full, but the all-ahead full lasts for much longer, giving it more effect, ultimately. Assault those success. Did we take out those goddamn generators finally? Yes? Alright, let's see if we can take out these torpedoes finally.
Your orders.
Those are gonna hit me and I'm okay with that. Lightning strike failure. What are we aiming at here?
Ready eternally.
Alright, continue on with what we're doing here.
For the dark gods.
Oh, there's a mine there. Let's get around that mine this way, I think. Do a bit of a slalom there. Alright, we can probably switch to regular bombers, I think, at this point in time, so let's go ahead and put them on automated. Alright, let's go ahead, get a bit of a turn there, start firing away. And we'll try and actually destroy a ship now. This is where we have probably disabled enough that I can get some shots off against it. I can probably deal some damage to it. Of course, here he is coming at me just full speed ahead again, making it so I have to turn away.
Your orders.
Alright. Yeah, that one's gone now. So we can now focus on this last one. All my stuff was off cooldown, so I wouldn't have been able to stop him from warping out anyhow. But, yeah, we've got this one ship. All it's got left is a macro battery, so I can probably focus this guy down.
Just show us something to kill.
Oh, we might be able to kill this guy before he leaves. No, okay. Alright, so this one's now on fire. Let's see if we can get in close enough, fast enough to lightning strike him.
Command me.
Yeah, impossible to fight. Not so much. You did just see me getting my ass completely handed to me by an orc fleet pretty recently. Oh, I'm gonna ram my own ships here.
Ready eternally.
Yeah, they did bump into each other just a little bit. Just a bit of a love tap there. Alright, so... But yeah, the whole point of this is that it is really hard for Chaos to fight, or Orcs to fight against this style of play. Definitely want to be using them for that purpose, so...
For the dark gods.
Don't know why I had a free fighter use there, but I did for some reason. The only thing he's got left is his ability to ram, so I'm going to turn off my use of at-will lightning strikes, the reason being that my opponent here, at some point in time, he's probably going to try and escape again. And it looks like my ships are smartly avoiding the ram there, or sorry, the mines there. We'll keep an eye on that, but yeah, we're okay.
Your orders. Your orders.
Right. Oh, I think, yeah, we're victorious. Our opponent has quit. So unfortunately, this is kind of how... This would have been much faster if our opponent just had two lighter ships, because it wouldn't have taken anywhere near as long for me to get those crippled ships to the point where I was willing to fight them. But once you get them sort of crippled down, you just sort of use your limited macro batteries and use them to fight your opponent. It works okay against most orc opponents. If you've got one that has all of those tractor beams or whatever, you need to have some ships that you're willing to sacrifice, but if your fleet's that small, you don't have any that you can, so... yeah, anyway, that is our look at Chaos. Bit of an annoying fight there, but that is, I think, how they play. If I did have a Hellbringer, even then, it would be a very long-distance standoffy fight where I'm trying to use the advantage of that 12,000 range broadside from those lance batteries that deal very, very little chip damage, just to whittle away at those orc ships from extreme range. And every time he turned to face me, I'd have to run away again, and then turn to face again with those lances, and then pick at him. And it would be the same process, but with lances instead of fighters. And I think that the fighters are just a little bit more reliable and a little bit faster ultimately. So that just kind of is how Chaos plays. It's a little bit unfortunate, and I think that they could definitely do a little bit to make them more reliable up close and make it so that there's more counterplay against that style of play, but I think that this is ultimately the best way to play it as Chaos at this point in time. So anyway, I hope you found this video enjoyable, and of course, as always, I hope to see you all next time.